The sky was red, ash fell like snow. Burned trees stood like skeletons across the land. Crushed metal and broken helmets littered the ground. Everything was silent except for the slow, heavy breathing of one man, Daniel Cross. He lay on his back, armor cracked, blood on his lips. One eye was swollen shut, his legs hurt, and one arm didn't move at all. He didn't know how long he had been lying there. Hours? Days? His last memory was of the mission. A team of 12 elite space marines had landed on the alien planet Dravaris, home to the enemy, the Zerathi. The mission was simple: destroy the alien transmitter. It would cut off the Zerathi army from their command center, but nothing went as planned. They were ambushed. The last thing Daniel saw was his commander getting torn apart by glowing red blades. Then something hit him, something big. When he woke up, everyone was dead. Daniel tried to sit up, but pain shot through his body. He groaned and dropped back onto the cold, black ground. "This is it," he whispered. "I'm going to die here." He looked at the sky. It was filled with smoke. The twin suns of Dravaris were barely visible behind thick, dark clouds. Suddenly, a strange sound echoed across the ruined battlefield. Like a whisper, like voices, but not human. Daniel forced himself to turn his head. And then, he saw her. Tall figure stepped through the smoke. She was not wearing armor like other Zerathi. Her body glowed with blue energy. Long white hair flowed behind her like a river of stars. Her skin was silver, and her eyes were deep violet. In one hand, she held a long, curved blade that pulsed with light. Daniel froze. He had heard the stories. All humans had. The Zerathi death goddess. A myth. A monster. A spirit of war. She was said to appear only after great battles, to judge the dead. Her name was Virexa, and now she stood in front of him. Daniel's heart pounded. He reached for his blaster with his working hand, but it was gone, broken beside him. Useless. He tried to crawl backward, but his body wouldn't listen. Virexa said nothing. She took one step closer, then another. Daniel stared into her glowing eyes. He thought about his family back on Earth, his sister, his dog, his old guitar, all the things he would never see again. This is it, he thought again. She's going to kill me. Virexa raised her blade. It hummed with deadly energy. Daniel closed his eyes. Then, silence. He waited for the final blow, but nothing happened. Slowly, carefully, Daniel opened one eye. Virexa was still standing over him, but the blade was pointed away now. She lowered it and stared at him, tilting her head slightly, like she was trying to understand something. Her face was calm, curious. She knelt beside him. Her hand reached out, not to strike but to touch his chest. Daniel couldn't breathe. Her fingers glowed faintly as they brushed against his armor. Where she touched, the pain faded. Her lips moved. She whispered a word in her language. It sounded soft, almost like a song. Kelshara. Daniel didn't understand. Tears slipped down the side of his face. He didn't know why. She looked at him one last time, eyes deep like the universe. And then everything went black. Daniel fainted. Daniel Cross awoke with a gasp. His lungs pulled in the air like they hadn't tasted oxygen in days. His heartbeat thudded in his ears. At first he thought he was still on the battlefield, but he wasn't. He was inside a strange room. The walls glowed a soft blue. The floor was smooth and warm, almost alive. He lay on a flat surface, not a bed, but a kind of table that floated just a few inches above the ground. It was holding him like invisible hands. He blinked, dazed. Was he on a ship? He turned his head, and there she was. Virexa, the death goddess, She stood only a few feet away, arms crossed, glowing softly in the low light. Her eyes were watching him, again. Not like a hunter watches prey, but like a scholar watches a puzzle. Her long white hair drifted gently as if floating in water. "You," Daniel croaked. "Why am I alive?" Virexa did not answer with words, not at first. Instead, she raised her hand. A floating screen appeared mid-air, filled with alien symbols. She touched them with long fingers and a soft hum filled the room. Then, her voice came, not from her lips, but through the room itself. A soft, clear voice spoke in English. Translated, by her ship, Daniel realized. "You are alive because I chose you." Daniel narrowed his eyes. "You chose me. Why?" "You were the last, the final heartbeat on that cursed battlefield. But more than that, I saw something in you." Daniel tried to sit up, but pain returned. He winced and fell back. "What did you see?" he asked. "A broken soldier? A dying man?" Virexa stepped closer. "No," her voice echoed. "A survivor." She reached toward him again. Daniel flinched, but she only placed her hand on his chest. Light bloomed from her palm, and once again, the pain faded. His body began to feel lighter, stronger. "Are you healing me?" he asked, confused. Virexa nodded slowly. "Your biology is strange, but not beyond repair." Daniel didn't understand. Why would a Zerathi warrior, no, a goddess, heal a human enemy? "What do you want from me?" he asked. Virexa paused. Then she turned and walked to a glowing panel. The wall shifted, revealing a window. Daniel's breath caught. Outside was space. A storm of stars, blue lightning dancing between two moons. Below was the planet Dravaris, cracked and dark with deep red rivers like veins. The battlefield where his squad had died was just a scar now. "You are far from your kind," Virexa said. "I figured," Daniel muttered. "You're not taking me prisoner, are you?" "No." "Then what am I?" She turned slowly and answered, "You are mine now." Daniel's stomach twisted. What does that mean? Virexa didn't explain. She just stared. Something in her eyes seemed conflicted, like she was fighting something inside herself. He remembered the word she whispered before he passed out. "Kelshara," he said aloud. She flinched. Just barely, but he saw it. "What does that mean?" he pressed. But this time she did not answer. Later that night, Daniel sat alone in a round room filled with soft lights and strange music. The ship seemed alive, like it breathed. Virexa had left, saying only one thing. "Do not try to leave." He didn't plan to. Not yet. His body still ached. His mind even more. Why did she spare him? What was this word, Kelshara? Was it a title? A prophecy? A mistake? And why did she keep watching him like he was something sacred? Suddenly the walls darkened. Red lights flashed. A warning tone echoed through the room. Daniel jumped to his feet. Footsteps. Virexa appeared in the doorway, but something was different. Her glow was brighter, her eyes sharp. She was armed again. "What's happening?" Daniel asked. Her voice was calm, but her body was tense. "They are coming. My kind. Zerathi war priests." Daniel's blood turned cold. War priests? Why? "They tracked the battle. They believe no humans survived, but if they find you alive, they will not show mercy." Daniel felt a chill run down his spine. "And what will you do?" he asked. Virexa looked at him for a long moment. Then she said softly, "I will kill them. To protect you." He stared at her. "You'd fight your own people?" She didn't blink. "You are. Kelshara, they will not understand." There it was again. That word. "What does it mean, Virexa?" he demanded. "Why won't you tell me?" Her glow pulsed. "Because I don't understand it either." Before Daniel could reply, the entire ship shook. An impact. Enemy fire. Alarms blared louder. A panel burst open in the ceiling. Virexa stepped forward, her blade glowing like a star. "Stay here." Then she vanished in a flash of light. Moments later, Daniel stood alone, breathing hard. The ship rocked again. He heard alien weapons fire, screams in a language he didn't know. And then, silence. The doors opened again. Virexa returned. But this time, she was covered in blood. Not hers. Daniel swallowed hard. "How many?" he asked. She answered quietly. "All of them." The silence inside the alien ship felt heavy. Daniel Cross sat alone on the glowing floor, watching the shadows stretch across the curved walls. His hand trembled slightly, not from fear, but from the weight of what he'd just seen. Virexa had killed her own people, the Zirathi war priests. For him, he could still smell the strange, bitter scent of alien blood. Some of it had splashed on the walls outside the room. He whispered to himself, "What the hell is happening?" Somewhere in deep space, Virexa stood on the edge of her ship's command deck, her eyes locked on the stars ahead. The galaxy spun slowly, silent, vast, and cold. She didn't move, but inside her, a storm was building. She was death goddess of her people, an executioner, a holy blade. And yet, she had spared the enemy, not just spared, protected. There would be consequences. She closed her eyes for a moment. Then she spoke aloud. He must not be found. Back in Daniel's room. The doors opened. Daniel turned quickly, ready for anything. But it was Virexa. She stepped in, her face calm, unreadable. "Are they all dead?" he asked, trying to sound stronger than he felt. She nodded. "Yes, but more will come." Daniel stood. "Why are they chasing me?" Virexa didn't answer at first. Then she touched her palm to the wall. A star map appeared, dozens of systems blinking in red. "Because I marked you." Daniel blinked. "You what?" "Zirathi warriors have a ritual. When one of our kind chooses to spare an enemy in battle, it must be marked, a blood seal, it cannot be undone." Daniel looked down at his chest. There, a faint blue symbol had appeared on his skin. He hadn't noticed it before. It pulsed gently, almost like a heartbeat. "What does it mean?" he asked, uneasy. Virexa looked him straight in the eyes. "It means I claimed you as sacred." Flashback. The ritual. For a moment, the story flashes back to the battlefield. Virexa stood over Daniel's broken body, her blade high. But something in his eyes, fearless, even in defeat, stopped her. She whispered the ancient word, Kelshara. And then, without knowing why, she drew her blade across her own hand and let the blood fall on his chest. It was forbidden. But it was done. Back to present. Daniel took a step back. "So what now? You're protecting me, but your own people want me dead?" Virexa nodded. "They will see you as a threat, a corruption of our purity." Daniel let out a dry laugh. "And here I thought aliens didn't do religion." Virexa's eyes narrowed. "To us, war is religion." She turned back to the controls. "We cannot stay here, we are being tracked." The ship pulsed beneath their feet. Stars shifted as they entered warp. Daniel leaned against the wall, overwhelmed. "How long can we run?" he asked. She turned to him slowly. "We're not running," he frowned. "Then what are we doing?" Virexa's eyes glowed bright. "We're going to find the truth." Meanwhile, on the Zirathi homeworld, in a massive black temple deep beneath the surface, Zirathi leaders stood around a glowing pool. One of the war priests who survived Virexa's ambush knelt before the High Seer. "She has broken the ancient law." The High Seer's voice was like grinding metal. "Then she must be cleansed." Another priest leaned in. And the human? The High Seer hissed. He must be erased. No trace. No mercy. They activated a galaxy-wide command. All Zirathi ships were now ordered to hunt and destroy the vessel named Varun's Fang, Virexa's ship. Back on the ship, Daniel paced the chamber as Virexa floated above a control sphere. Her ship was flying through strange territory, uncharted space. "Where are we going?" Daniel asked. Virexa answered without looking. "To the oldest archive of my kind, a place no longer remembered by most. It may hold the answer to what you are." "What I am?" She nodded. "Humans were never supposed to survive contact with the Zirathi. Not mentally, not spiritually, but you did. And you carry something in your blood now. Something ancient." Daniel touched the mark on his chest. It burned slightly, then faded. "Are you saying I'm changing?" Her silence said enough. A mysterious transmission. Suddenly the ship jolted. "Incoming signal," Virexa said, surprised. She touched a panel. An image flickered into the air, a hologram of a human face. Daniel stepped forward, shocked. "That's Admiral Wyatt." The old human admiral looked tired, bloody, and desperate. "Anyone receiving this, we've been ambushed. Zirathi fleet moving toward Earth, massive force, can't hold them. Evacuation in progress." The signal cut out. Silence filled the room. Daniel clenched his fists. "We have to go back. We have to help." Virexa didn't speak. Instead, she pulled up the star map again. Earth was blinking red. "You are marked, Daniel. If you go back, you will bring their wrath with you." "I don't care," he snapped. "They're my people." Virexa stared at him. "Then..." She nodded. "Then I will go with you." Daniel froze. "You'd fight your own kind again? For me?" She stepped closer, her voice low. "You are not just a soldier now, Daniel Cross. You are a living symbol, a question my kind cannot answer. That is why they fear you." Final scene. Preparing for battle. The ship's armor unfolded. Weapons powered up. Virexa's armor began forming around her body, sleek, glowing, sharp. Daniel loaded his old marine rifle. "You're really coming?" Virexa's blade hissed to life. Until the end. They stood together as the stars bent around them. Earth was in danger, and Daniel was no longer just a survivor. He was something new, and with the death goddess by his side, the galaxy would never be the same. Stars blurred past as the ship raced through deep space. Daniel Cross stood in the war chamber, armored up, heart pounding. He stared at the glowing screen ahead, Earth marked red, under siege. The planet looked smaller than he remembered, far away, vulnerable. Beside him, Virexa moved with quiet purpose. Her armor flowed like liquid metal. Her expression was unreadable. "We're approaching Earth's outer defense ring," she said, "but it's not responding." Daniel leaned in. "What do you mean?" She zoomed in. There was nothing. No satellites. No patrol ships. No warning systems. Just floating metal. Debris. Earth's outer defenses had already fallen. The ghost orbit as their ship neared the planet. They passed burned wreckage. Pieces of old human warships. A floating helmet bounced against the hull. "Stop the ship," Daniel whispered. Virexa obeyed. He stared at the ruins. "That's the Jericho, the last command ship," he said. She was supposed to be untouchable. But now it was torn open like a tin can. Bodies drifted out slowly into the void. Humanity had already lost round one. A faint signal. Suddenly, a blinking icon appeared on the screen. A weak human distress. "Signal. Source Earth surface," Virexa read. "Coordinates, Old Chicago Dome." Daniel clenched his fists. "That's where they built the last civilian shelter. My sister was stationed there." He didn't wait. "Take us down." The descent. The ship plunged into Earth's atmosphere. Fire licked across the hull. The planet. Below was almost unrecognizable. Dark skies, fire across the horizon. Strange alien structures spreading like vines over the land. Cyrathi ground temples. Virexa said grimly, "They've begun seeding Earth." Daniel looked confused. Seeding? For what? Conversion. Your planet is being rewritten. His stomach dropped. As they neared the surface, Virexa's ship cloaked itself, passing silently over alien patrols. Giant spider-like walkers moved across destroyed cities. Black towers pierced the clouds. Daniel's voice was tight. This isn't a war anymore. This is a cleansing. Inside the dome, they landed near the ruins of the old Chicago Dome. Daniel stepped out into ash and silence. Buildings stood like skeletons. Air was thin and cold. No birds, no wind, just nothing. They moved quietly through the ruins, rifles drawn. Virexa scanned ahead with glowing eyes. Suddenly, movement, a burst of laser fire, red beams struck the wall behind them. Human weapons. Daniel shouted, "Hold fire, we're allies!" More shots. Then, voices. "Hold! That's Cross. It's Commander Daniel Cross." A group of tired, dirty human soldiers appeared from behind rubble. One of them, limping, stepped forward. It was Sergeant Hale, one of Daniel's old unit members. "You're supposed to be dead," Hale said, stunned. Daniel gave a tired grin. "Guess not." Hale looked at Virexa with fear. "Is that what I think it is?" Daniel nodded. "She saved my life. We wouldn't be here without her." The soldiers didn't lower their guns right away, but eventually, they did. Inside the last shelter deep underground, the remaining human survivors had taken shelter. Barely 200 people left. Doctors, scientists, children. Daniel walked through the hall in shock. "Where's the military?" Hale looked down. "Crushed. The UN fleet was destroyed 3 days ago. The Cyrathi knew our defenses, every code, every plan." Daniel's voice dropped. "How?" Virexa stepped forward, her voice cold. "You were betrayed from inside." Everyone turned to her. "There is a human working with the Cyrathi, a translator, a guide. They gave your leaders false hope and then took everything." Daniel's eyes narrowed. "Who?" She looked straight at him. "His name is Ethan Weller." Daniel went pale. "That's impossible. Weller was my commanding officer. He died 5 years ago." Virexa didn't blink. "He's alive, and he wears their mark." The betrayer flashback. Virexa watched from a distant war room as Ethan Weller, once human, now part machine, stood beside the Cyrathi high priest. His eyes were strange, his voice cold. "Humans are weak. Earth must evolve. Join or perish." He had become a spliced, a creature half Cyrathi, half human, a bridge between worlds. And now, he led the enemy fleet. The choice Daniel sat in the shelter command room surrounded by scared civilians. "I can't believe it," he whispered. "Weller was a hero. He trained me." Virexa said nothing. Then a voice came through the speaker. Broadcast, from orbit, Ethan Weller's voice. "Daniel, I know you're alive, and I know she's with you, the death goddess who broke our code. You've seen what Earth is becoming. You know resistance is foolish. Come to me. Bring her, we'll end this on together." The transmission ended. Everyone in the room turned to Daniel. Sergeant Hale asked, "What do we do?" Daniel looked up, eyes burning. "We fight, preparing for the impossible." In the coming hours, Daniel and Virexa trained the remaining humans. They upgraded weapons using alien tech. They taught new tactics. Virexa shared weak points in Cyrathi armor. The shelter turned into a hidden base. For the first time in weeks, there was hope. But Daniel knew one thing for sure. This wasn't just a war for Earth now. This was personal. Weller had betrayed them. And Daniel would face him, whatever it took. Final scene. Rising storm. That night, Daniel stood alone on the surface. He looked up at the black sky. Dozens of Cyrathi ships hovered above like insects waiting to strike. Virexa stepped beside him. "They'll come for us soon. Daniel nodded. Let them. She looked at him carefully. You are changing, Daniel. The mark is growing. He looked down at his chest. The glowing symbol was brighter, branching like roots. Then I'll use whatever power I have left to stop them. He looked at her. Are you with me? Her blade hissed to life. Until my last breath. Behind them, the human resistance moved into position. In the dark sky above, something massive began to descend. A Zirathi command vessel the size of a mountain. The final battle had begun. Darkness. Before the storm, the night was unnaturally quiet. Daniel stood on a rooftop in the ruined city, staring into the sky. The stars were gone, blotted out by a vast shadow creeping slowly toward Earth. A Zirathi command vessel, bigger than anything humanity had ever seen. Its belly glowed with a sick green light. It wasn't just a ship, it was a floating fortress, a god's throne made of metal and pain. Daniel whispered. It's him. Virexa appeared beside him, silent and still. Her voice was low. Ethan Weller, the betrayer. The one who gave your species to mine. Daniel gritted his teeth. Then let's go take him back. A dead man's name, inside the underground shelter. The survivors watched the alien ship move like a storm over the horizon. Lights flickered. Children cried. People packed weapons and supplies. The resistance was preparing for war, but time was running out. Sergeant Hale handed Daniel a data pad. Recon drones got visuals. That ship, it's not just a flagship, it's a breeding corps. Daniel's brow furrowed. For what? Hale showed him images of grotesque hybrids, part human, part Zirathi, some still alive, some screaming. They're making a new species, Hale said, using us. Daniel clenched his fists. We end this tonight. The infiltration plan Virexa laid out the map of the ship's underbelly. There's a vent shaft here. It bypasses most of their security, but only 2 can enter. Daniel didn't hesitate. I'm going. You coming? Virexa smiled faintly. You already know the answer. Sergeant Hale looked troubled. You're walking into hell, Commander. Daniel nodded. I've been there before. The rest of the resistance would create a diversion attacking the outer hull. While the Zirathi were distracted, Daniel and Virexa would sneak inside to confront Weller and destroy the core. Into the beast, they launched at midnight. A stolen Zirathi stealth pod carried them silently up toward the dark sky. Earth fell away beneath them. Daniel's hand gripped his rifle. Beside him, Virexa's blade hummed softly. The alien ship grew closer, its surface alive with crawling machines and glowing runes. The pod latched silently onto the underbelly. The hatch opened. Cold metal. No sound. They entered through the vent, crawling into darkness. Inside the command vessel, the interior was a nightmare. The walls pulsed like skin. Strange symbols glowed red. Tubes carried glowing fluid, and within them floating humans. Still alive, half transformed. Daniel recoiled. They're turning us into them, Virexa whispered. Some volunteered. Others were taken. They moved deeper. Suddenly, footsteps. A squad of Zirathi guards appeared. Daniel raised his weapon, but Virexa moved first. She spun like smoke, blade slicing through the air. Aliens fell without sound. Daniel stared. You're faster. She didn't respond, but her glow was growing. The core room finally, they reached the main chamber. A circular hall with a massive pulsating heart at the center. It looked like a living brain wrapped in machinery. The room smelled like ash and blood. Standing at the center was Ethan Weller, or what was left of him. His skin was pale and stretched. Veins glowed blue. One eye was Zirathi. His arm was a biomechanical weapon. He smiled when he saw Daniel. Hello, brother. Daniel froze. What? Weller stepped forward. We were both part of Project Ascend. Only I survived. They said I died, but I transcended. Daniel's voice cracked. You gave them Earth. I gave us a chance to evolve. They promised peace, but it needed sacrifice. Daniel raised his weapon. You murdered billions. Weller spread his arms. No, I freed them. The fight begins without warning. Weller struck. His arm cannon fired a blast that tore the floor apart. Daniel dove left as fire rained down. Virexa lunged forward, blades clashing with Weller's arm. The two moved like titans, glow against glow, steel against alien fire. Daniel fired at the core, trying to damage it, but it absorbed the bullets. Only a Zirathi weapon can destroy. The heart, Virexa shouted. Daniel turned and saw her drop to one knee. Weller had stabbed her with a shard of his own flesh, poisoned. She's fading, he said. You're all alone now. Daniel looked at her. She nodded weakly. Use my blade. The choice Daniel stood, blood on his face, fear in his eyes. Virexa's blade hummed beside him. Weller raised his hand. Join me, it's not too late, you could live forever with her. Daniel looked at him, then down at the blade. The same blade Virexa once held to his throat. He stepped forward. You're right. It's not too late. Then, he drove the blade into the core. Everything breaks. The ship screamed. The heart exploded in light. Energy surged through the walls. Machines shorted. Tubes burst. The ground shook. Weller roared, his body ripping apart from the inside. No! Daniel grabbed Virexa and ran as the chamber collapsed behind them. Flames followed. Ceilings fell. The ship began to sink toward Earth. Escape. They reached the escape pod seconds before the explosion. As the pod flew clear, they looked back. The Zirathi mothership was falling, burning, its remains crashing into the ocean. Earth's skies began to clear. Final scene, the aftermath. They landed outside the ruined Chicago Dome. Survivors gathered, watching the distant fireball fade in the sky. Daniel carried Virexa, her glow dim but alive. People stared at her not with fear but with awe. Sergeant Hale ran up, out of breath. You did it, you crazy son of a... Daniel didn't answer. He looked down at Virexa. She smiled, faintly. You saved your people. Daniel shook his head. We saved each other. Behind them, Earth began to heal, but something still stirred in the sky. To be continued in Part 6. The Goddess's Warning. Virexa reveals the true purpose of the Zirathi invasion, and a greater threat rising behind the stars. Daniel must decide, return to peace or become something far more dangerous. The world breathes again. For the first time in months, the sky over Earth was blue. Ash still floated through the air. Cities still smoldered, but the Zirathi mothership was gone. Survivors emerged from shelters. Resistance flags were raised. The war was over, or so they thought. Daniel Cross stood outside the burned-out Resistance HQ, staring at the horizon. Beside him sat Virexa, weak and silent. Her once glowing eyes had faded. Her skin, no longer radiant, looked almost human. She saved us all, Hale had said. That alien woman, she might have been the key. Daniel knew better. She wasn't just the key, she was the lock too. A dream of darkness. That night Daniel slept for the first time in days, but his dreams were not his own. He stood in a desert of stars, endless black sky, a red moon above, and beneath it a figure, towering, ancient, shapeless. It wasn't Zirathi. Its voice echoed like broken metal. You killed my vessel. You awakened me. Daniel tried to move. Couldn't. The goddess bleeds. You carry her stain. Then silence. He woke up screaming, soaked in sweat, and Virexa was standing at the window, eyes glowing faintly red. The truth revealed. The next morning, Daniel confronted her. You knew something else was coming, he said. Didn't you? Virexa turned slowly. The Zirathi were never the true enemy. She raised her hand, and from her palm, A holographic map of the galaxy appeared. It showed thousands of stars, and one section blinking in dark red. That is the Veil, a place your kind never reached, but long ago it reached us. She looked tired. The Zyrathi worshipped death because we had to. We were slaves to something older, stronger, something we only called the Hollow King. Daniel frowned. The thing in my dream? Virexa nodded. He saw you, because I marked you, when I spared you. Council of Fire, the remaining resistance. Leaders met inside a half-broken hangar. It smelled like smoke and fuel. Some wanted to rebuild. Others wanted revenge. Daniel stood before them, Virexa at his side. You think the war is over, he said. It's not. He told them everything. About the Hollow King, the dreams, the red stars, and the coming invasion. Some laughed, some left, but Sergeant Hale stayed. If you're right, we're not just fighting aliens anymore, he said. We're fighting gods. Daniel nodded. Then we'd better become monsters. Awakening the weapon Virexa led Daniel to a secret. Zyrathi vault buried deep beneath a ruined city. The walls were covered in ancient language, symbols glowing with faint blue light. Machines still pulsing, still alive. In the center was a throne made of bone and crystal. Floating above it, a black sphere, slowly spinning. This is the last piece of my power, Virexa whispered. If I take it back, I become what I once was, a death goddess, but I may not survive the merging. Daniel looked at her. What happens if you don't take it? She didn't answer, so he stepped forward and touched the sphere. It burned his skin but didn't kill him. The sphere chose him. The merging Daniel's body lifted off the ground. The sphere entered his chest, light pouring into his veins. Memories, voices, pain. Entire lifetimes of Zyrathi warriors filled his mind. Virexa reached out, trying to stop it, but the sphere rejected her. Daniel collapsed, then rose again. Eyes black, heart still beating. He wasn't fully human anymore, and he knew what he had to do. The signal at the edge of the solar system, deep in the void. Something moved. A transmission pulsed out from Earth's surface. Not a message, a beacon. We see you, it said. We are coming. Back to the sky, the Resistance launched a stolen Zyrathi vessel. Their mission? Reach the source of the signal, destroy the beacon, and prepare for whatever came next. Virexa, weaker now, stayed behind. Daniel kissed her forehead. You saved me once. I'll save all of us now. She looked up. He knows. Your name now, Daniel Cross. Daniel smiled grimly. Then I'll make sure he remembers it. Final scene. The Veil Daniel's ship passed Mars, past Neptune, past the edge of human history, and finally reached a black rift in space. No stars, no sound, just emptiness. A voice echoed across time. Come and see what lies beyond your gods. Daniel looked forward, rifle in hand, heart steady. I'm coming. The rift, the stars disappeared. As Daniel's ship crossed into the Veil, everything became silent. No light, no noise, not even time. The galaxy's edge was behind him. Earth, just a memory now. Inside the ship, the walls creaked. Steel groaned, screens flickered, and in the silence Daniel heard voices, whispers in 1,000 languages, all saying the same word. Return. He gripped his rifle tighter and looked into the dark. Something was watching him. The hollow world. Suddenly, space twisted. The ship was no longer floating. It was crashing, through an atmosphere made of mist and shadow. Daniel strapped in. Fire erupted around the vessel. Gravity pulled hard. Boom. The ship slammed into the surface of a strange planet, if it could be called that. The ground pulsed under his feet like it was breathing. Trees were made of black crystal. The sky bled light. And in the distance stood a tower taller than Earth's atmosphere, shaped like a spine. Daniel stepped out. Welcome, bearer of her mark, a voice hissed. A figure approached, cloaked, faceless, hovering. It wasn't Virexa, it was one of them. Echo of the goddess. The cloaked being reached for him. Daniel raised his weapon. Back off. But the figure didn't flinch. Instead, it spoke. You carry what does not belong to your kind. The goddess made a mistake. Daniel narrowed his eyes. She saved Earth. The being laughed without a mouth. She delayed its death. She broke the contract. You are the price. Then the air trembled, and Daniel felt her. Virexa's voice, inside his mind. Daniel, don't trust anything you see, not even me. His hand shook. Then who do I trust? He whispered. The world answered with silence. The Hollow King appears. The ground split. From the earth rose a figure made of shadow and fire, 10 stories tall, no face, no eyes, just a massive crown of bones. The Hollow King. Another insect who thinks he's a god, Daniel muttered. The Hollow King did not speak in words, only visions. Daniel saw planets torn apart, gods consumed, civilizations erased, and in all of them, the Hollow King watching. You feed on fear, Daniel said. You enslaved the Zyrathi. You tried to use Earth. The king stepped forward. Daniel's armor cracked just from the pressure. But now, Daniel growled, you're going to choke. The last weapon inside, his chest, the alien sphere pulsed. Daniel remembered Virexa's warning. The sphere is not just a key, it is a choice. He activated it. Pain shot through every nerve in his body. The ground shook. Daniel's form began to change, armor fusing with skin, his mind splitting and merging. He saw memories from every warrior who had fallen to the Hollow King, and from those who had defied him. He wasn't just Daniel Cross anymore. He was the wrath of the fallen, and he charged. The final battle. The Hollow King raised a hand, a black sword formed in the air. The two clashed, man and monster. Each blow shattered mountains. Each strike tore the sky. Daniel moved with impossible speed, guided by the memories inside him. The king's blade sliced through his shoulder. Daniel roared and blasted the king with light. You are alone, the king's voice thundered. No, Daniel said, I'm human, that means I never fight alone. Behind him a new light flared. Virexa appeared weakened, but alive, and holding the soul flame blade, the only thing that could kill the king. Sacrifice. Virexa threw the blade. Daniel caught it mid-air. He drove it into the Hollow King's chest. But the king didn't die quietly. He pulled Daniel in close and whispered something only Daniel could hear. You are now mine, child of the flame. Then the king exploded into black fire. The aftermath. The veil began to collapse. Virexa grabbed Daniel as reality twisted. You have to go back, she screamed. What about you? She smiled faintly. I was never meant to leave. Daniel reached for her, but the light swallowed them both. Earth, 2 months later. Daniel awoke in a hospital bed. The doctor said he'd been in a coma since the crash. But he remembered. Everything. Virexa was gone. The Hollow King was dead. But deep inside, Daniel could still feel the sphere pulsing softly, and at night when he looked up at the stars, he wondered if something else had taken notice. Final twist ending. One evening, Daniel sat by a lake, alone. A woman walked out of the trees, tall, pale, glowing eyes. Not Virexa, but familiar. You were marked, she said. You thought he was the only king. Daniel stood up slowly. She smiled coldly. The true gods are waking now, and you're the one they fear. The end.